Idiots.
Hey, what's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, two things for today's Honesty Cap. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they would just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number two, for all the folks that were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter. They're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does that hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What is up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 14 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Air Force and Marine Corps veteran Dr. Friedman. And as usual, I'm here with Buddy and the Big Earl. Happy Saturday. What's up, y'all?
Just writing my notes for the AAR. Not a huge
if
deal.
You don't start early.
Yeah.
So
I poured myself a little something here. So yeah. How's everybody doing today? What's going on? Buddy, you were in the emergency room this morning. You're good now?
Yeah.
What were you in the emergency room for? You got it.
I have an ear infection in both ears, actually. So now I have a reason to not be able to hear anything that my wife says. Like, she's like, oh, why you're not doing what I said? And I'm like, I can't fucking hear you. Not my fault.
Yeah.
Boom.
I bet it's
got a doctor's
note. She yells at you with a British accent. Like you try to take it seriously when she's mad at you, but it's in a British accent, so you can't.
You know what? It's funny. Like at first, everything that she said seemed like it was correct, just because she's got a British accent. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But now I know they don't know any more than we do. They just say stuff in a better way. Like, yeah. It's the sky is green outside. Is it? That must be. And you go outside, and you're like, that shit's blue as hell. What are you talking about? Let's throw a tomato at you.
That British English is definitely a little bit more formal, huh? Yeah,
for
sure.
Way more formal. Yeah.
I'm definitely getting over today. My my oldest, she's a sophomore on the cross country team that just qualified for state in California.
Boom.
So they took fourth, and the top 7 go, and so that's pretty awesome. And now she's playing in a varsity basketball game, and she might have 2 of those today. So I'm going to sit here and drink bourbon while they're out there working. So it is what it is.
So Big Earl, I'm just going to jump on in. First of all, thanks for having me. But I want to also say a shout out to my kids as well. Both my son and my daughter. My son is a junior. My daughter's a 7th grade. They both won. They're both part of the state championship teams for both the men and the women. So maybe I'll just be hitting you up, Big Earl. All right. Maybe we can have a cold beverage together. Okay.
Oh, if we're
sure,
doing
yeah.
that, I would like to give a shout out
Sure.
to my 2 kids, Peyton and Eli. They both won Super Bowls in their lifetimes, and that's awesome. So,
are you talking about fantasy football or something?
no, they're my kids, guys. They just call me Buddy. My name is really.
This guy applied for the defensive coordinator, and he said, he's like, based on my fantasy football record, I think I'd be a huge asset to your organization. He's like, but side note, I prefer weekends off. But he didn't get the job. That's what it is. Oh, look at this guy. We got, hey, Steve Gibson. We're gonna put this up there on the screen. Dude, you're old as fuck. Ranger class 0386. DOL
That was back when Desert Phase was still a thing.
Yeah, DOL only.
That's when Buddy joined the army.
Yeah,
Buddy. That's when Buddy joined the army. Yeah, 86.
It is
I think that's when he made 86. Buddy made 86 in 86.
I made E6 actually in 86. I
Yeah.
was and that's
He
why
wasn't E6 when we got to the unit. Yeah,
I was not. I was absolutely
Yes,
not.
you were a staff sergeant.
you
when got
100%
there. You
were.
a legend.
And when I
And
made
we all
staff
made
sergeant, you
E7
were still
together.
staff sergeant.
I liked being a staff sergeant though, guys. It was awesome.
You just got
that is
like
true.
really badass later on in your career. That's what you did.
I
And you did
peaked,
all the cool stuff.
I peaked late. Is what I
Yeah.
did. I saved up. It's called pacing yourselves, guys. A lot of people come in and they just burn it down for like 5 years and then they're tired. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I came in like a diesel engine. I warmed up a little bit, and then I chugged along. And then
Is this a haiku?
at one point there was a runaway, like there's too much fuel going in. And so I blazed through a few things. And then at the end, I kind of started chugging again. Like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Chugga.
Yeah. I think I can.
Well, all right.
We got
Let's get
Sam,
the show
Army
started.
vet, Emlyn
Yeah.
Abrams, tank mechanic. What?
All kinds of people on here, huh?
Yeah.
We are going to kickstart it with a conspiracy before we go into the Book of Earl and then get to our guest. So, as usual, I was Googling and TikToking and doing all kinds of stuff Thursday, and I typed in best conspiracy theories. Have you guys heard of the Devil's Bible, also known as the Codex Gigas? I don't know if I pronounced it right. But,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
we're
you
gonna-
can't walk outside right now if you're saying that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are
Codex
You better
Gigas. Codex Gigas or Gigas. We're gonna play a video and we're gonna watch it, but I'm pretty sure I pronounced it right.
This 800-year-old book contains one of the most cursed images on the planet. So I already know that some of you are going to say this guy looks like he's straight out of South Park. But some historians say that this is the most accurate portrait of the devil ever drawn. I'm going to tell you more about it, but if you want the full deep dive and a couple other scary stories, check out this week's episode. This is the book. It's known as the Devil's Bible, and it's the largest surviving book from the Middle Ages. For reference, it's 3 feet long and 165 pounds. Historians can tell it was written by one person, and they think it would have taken 20 years to write, but the legend says that it was written in one night. The story goes that back in the 1200s, there was a monk that was sentenced to death. He was going to be walled alive, which is where you stand in place and they build this little coffin around you, and then you just wait to die. But the monk pleaded with the judge and said, if you let me live, I will write the entirety of human knowledge into one book, and I'll do it in one night. The judge agreed, but a few hours after the monk started writing, he realized he wasn't going to be able to finish that night. He ended up making a pact with the devil so that he could finish the book in one evening. And in return, he drew an accurate portrait of the devil he saw inside of the book. It's also believed that anyone who's ever owned the book has also been cursed, which I get into in the episode, so check it out.
Oh, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So go ahead, Chris. Okay. So I looked a little bit more into this to be able to provide you guys with a little bit more information. So the book is actually located in Sweden at a museum. There supposedly are 7 pages missing out of the book. A bunch of people have looked at the book and said that the author was the same person based on the handwriting and everything, and that it would have taken about 20 years to write that book. Now, obviously, the myth and the legend behind this is this guy did it in one night. The devil helped him out. But there's all kinds of like black magic, all kinds of devil stuff in that book. Supposedly, the 7 pages that are missing are links to how humanity was created and all kinds of good stuff. So I don't know, man. I'm a little torn on this one. Like it seems pretty fascinating. I mean, I don't know what happened over, back in the 13th century, and like, did this monk really meet the devil that night? So I'm gonna go with a 50-50 that it happened or it didn't happen. And that's my take. I need to watch more on this. There's a whole documentary about it to get more details, but it is pretty intriguing. Definitely the same author, right? But did he do it in one night? I don't know.
Is that what we're answering? If whether or not he wrote it in one night, or if the devil actually wrote it with him?
Whether he did it in one night with the devil, regardless, there was no capability for him to do it in one night. He couldn't have done it in one night. It was 620 pages. Like, it would have taken him 20 years to write this book. There's no way he did it. If he did it in one night, there's no way he did it by himself. But the rumor has the devil helped him out. Chat GPT. You should ask Chat GPT.
That would one night.
You can write a book pretty quickly now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Friedman, what's your take? Is this bullshit? Did this really occur? Have you ever heard of it? Like, what's your take?
So first of all, I'm always amazed at the knowledge that you push out through here in the tube for the rest of the world. I was unfamiliar of this exquisite book that was supposedly written in one night. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of just throw this meatball on the wall and see if it sticks. First of all, is it humanly possible to write 600 plus pages in overnight? The answer is absolutely no. But VTT Big Earl here, he said something very, very, very important, right? ChatGPT, as we know it now, may in fact have existed 800 years ago. Did they say it was 800 years ago or 600? But so without without that technological advanced equipment app, I would think that a supernatural power that would be demonic, then it's completely plausible. All right. It could be completely plausible. But as far as the accuracy is concerned, come on, dudes. Everybody knows that there's all sorts of other books that have been written way long ago with historical data, without a shadow of a doubt, kind of like the Dead Sea Scrolls found in 1970s when they're finding a whole scroll of Isaiah that's only reinforcing the validity and accuracy of the Old Testament and the Hebrew scriptures. Don't even get me started because I'm a historian. So do I believe in it? Absolutely, 100%
wrong person to ask.
Boom.
That's just what happened.
I wanted to say that I picked it because I knew he was a historian, but that's not the case. I did not know that. But great coincidence, I guess. Good take. Good take. Buddy, what you got? How are you going to follow up on that one?
Well, first of all,
it doesn't really matter. You just have to give your own opinion anyway.
Yeah,
so
well, my opinion is that I am confused as to how the conspiracy is not actually a conspiracy. If it's there, it's there. There's no conspiracy as to whether it exists.
Well, the question is, was it written in one night, and did he have assistance from the devil? That's the question about this.
I mean, did he plagiarize? I don't know. I don't know.
Oh yeah, did he quote the devil?
Did he already have the book written?
Is it possible that there was a copy machine somewhere along the way?
Is it possible that he was like, "Hey, let me go back to my house right quick, and I'll write you this book tonight that I've been writing for the past 15 years because I can get." How do you say you could never have written this book? It would have taken 20 years. Bitch, maybe you're slow and he's fast. You know what I mean? People read.
Yeah, I mean,
they're like, I read this.
He definitely didn't write it in one night by himself.
4 months. Because I'm slow.
I would say that book was definitely not written in one night. The
also,
size of
here's
the book too, like in the museum.
Like, where do you get a 187-page blank book to write this shit down?
Well, the monks gave him that stuff. They were like, okay, we're going to give you this shot to write this book.
Down the street for giants? What are we talking about? That's a giant ass paper. How do you get big paper like that? Like, yo, let me get a 4-foot sheet of paper right quick. I'll draw you, again, a cursed picture that we're going to show. I don't want to see some cursed picture.
All right, so he wrote it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, clearly he wrote it, but he probably
one night.
One night, he may have already had it written down. Maybe he was hanging out with the devil the whole time. That's why I wanted to brick him up. That's why they were like, brick, brick, brick. You know what I mean?
Maybe he had the book already. Yeah.
Maybe he already had the book. Maybe he had keistered that book. He put it in his prison wallet, came in there. They were like, hey, not to mention, who makes this deal with a monk? They're like, hey, we're so mad at you, we're going to kill you. And he's like, whoa, 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 hold up. But what if I write a book for you? Oh, you do spit bars. Go ahead and write a book for us in a night, and we're going to let you go. We're not mad at you anymore. This doesn't seem logical. Just the whole backstory doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. I think he already had the book.
Yeah. That's plausible. That's
about the Middle Ages. They were big into lying about shit just to, like, you know what I mean? They weren't too good to make something up. They could have all been devil worshippers and been like, hey, write a book. And he wrote a book, and they're like, well, we got to.
You're onto something there, buddy. You're onto something there.
Yeah, he is onto something.
Let's just.
I like that.
Say we wrote it in a night with the devil. Boom. That's called marketing, guys. Marketing. I wrote this shit in a day, dude.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna call him out? Like, I mean, especially if he's got the devil on his corner.
Especially if you never know if the Beelzebub is gonna jump out and pop you in the butt.
Yeah, Beelzebub.
I think that's his other name. I don't know. But here's the thing: you're talking about cursed images. I won't even mess with a Ouija board because I'm not trying to. Like, there are some things that just in case they are true. Why do I need to mess?
I had a Ouija board when I was younger.
I bet you did. You were also a child rapper. So
yeah, that is true.
A lot of things you did.
Yeah, you were. He wasn't a boy.
Yeah, he's in a boy rap band in Germany.
Yeah, but anyway,
he was one of the first boy bands.
Well, good take, buddy. So it was already written. I like that. I like that take. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, there might be something to that. What about, real quick? What about like the 7 pages that are missing that supposedly like have the answers?
Well, it's weird that it's 7, right? 7's a very holy number,
right?
Yeah, maybe you know the Holy Spirit came down and was like, not these 7.
Ooh, nope. But there are 7 days. There are 7 days represented in Genesis.
Yeah,
maybe it's the 7 days, and
maybe we just gotta.
There were 7 dwarfs in Snow White.
Yeah,
you know, it's very possible.
If more people buy our shirts, maybe we can just fly to Switzerland, you know, or Sweden or wherever this place is at, and go check out the book ourselves. You know,
I just have to say, I think
Nick?
that if in fact these 7 pages are missing, let's just say that these 7 pages are missing, and let's just say that this book is real and it was like super empowered by the devil himself, right? Although I really do like the idea that the book was already written a long time ago. And then during the negotiation, he just said, I'll just write this book. And then all of a sudden he was able to, you know, do it overnight. But anyway, with that being said, these 7 pages are missing. Maybe it's talking about really the truth of life, man. Right. Or maybe like some essential, critical and vital variable that literally radically changes and transforms the world. So I think
maybe God and Lucifer didn't hate each other and it was like a bet. You know, maybe it was just like this whole good versus evil doesn't even exist. It just was like, I mean, that could be the 7 pages where the devil's like, actually, I just lost a bet to the guy up there and I got to go down here, man. We still talk, you know? So like, could be all kinds of weird shit in there. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the full documentary on it because it seems pretty interesting. I want to get more details on it. But Nick, what's your take on all of this? What you got?
Yeah, you know, usually we don't have doctors on the show, and but even with a doctor on the show, they save my opinion for the last because it's usually the best one, probably the most accurate, one that we should all pay attention to. Even nobody has a hearing problem right now. No, you guys kind of touched on it, and you guys were getting to what happened, right? So this book was 100% written prior. And if you think about the time frame, there weren't too many people that could read, right? There weren't too many people that could write. There weren't. So this guy had a little ace up his sleeve, right? He had that there, and he could tell this king who probably couldn't read either, right? That was just born, with some watery tart threw his sword at him, and he's a king or whatever. And he's like, I was like, I have a book that'll blow your. I will write this book for you. Right. And so he does that. But now he can't just get away with it. right? It's too simple. So he's got to put the fear of God, right? That this was the devil that gave me the power. If you touch me or touch this book, you're in big trouble, right? Like that's a curse. So it's 100% real. He didn't write it in a day, but he definitely had it up his sleeve. And
Not even Kelly was built in a day, guys. Everybody knows that. You can't write a book in a day. Not even a hamster on the wheel.
Now you're going to introduce a hamster.
Ramirez, old Ram. He's an Air Force guy. He worked on the stealth bombers.
Everything's got to have some kind of movie to it.
Yeah, and then I want to put this guy back up on the screen. Dr. Friedman, you know this guy?
We're talking about Dan. Oh yeah, Dan, Special Operations JTAC, really good dude, LinkedIn influencer, incredible marketing.
Yeah, I've been trying to get this dude on the show for like 2 years, and he's always too good for us. So I'm glad you bridged the gap. Like, oh, Danny, I got you now. I got you now, buddy.
I mean, for maybe for a gold coin, I can arrange it. You know what I mean, Big Earl?
Oh. What about I have a page from an old book. 3 feet.
Big Earl. I understand that you got 7 pages that's been missing of a very important book that's located, across the sea.
And that's the other thing too. These monks, they lived in caves, Like,
what would be funny is if
shrooms. I mean, were they eating shrooms? They were natural guys. They were organic dudes, Like, it could have been all shroomed up.
They were doing a lot of that stuff. I mean, Nostradamus was eating shrooms like crazy.
If you found the pages and it said this page left blank intentionally.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah. But this actually, I can correlate this to my Book of Earl, which is, not that hard to do. And again, we've had like 600 shows. So I keep saying that. I say that I repeat the same stuff a lot, but a couple of things have been triggering me lately. Oh. Right. And for those of you that don't know what the Book of Earl is, it's my own triggerness. All right. If you type in @triggeredpansy, all right, my page comes up. All right. So you find me. Okay. So I write these things down and then I share them with the world so that they're like, hey, this stupid shit happens. And you just got to deal with it. So what's been triggering me lately, and it's funny that Dr. Friedman, his resiliency clinics on the show, is I was like the second class in 2008 of the Train the Trainer MRT, right? Master Resiliency Training from University of Pennsylvania, and no big deal, Ivy League certification. Just saying, no big deal. But they literally brought it into the Army, and they ended it with hug sessions in 2008. Right. And this whole hunt the good stuff, that's for like elementary school kids. Now, I get it that a lot of people in our profession are elementary level people. Like, so like it's, it might work, but here's where it comes. Don't be the book leader. All right. Don't be the CEO or the leader that reads a leadership book, has this fucking epiphany about what leadership is now, and then make everybody else read it and start doing everything that's in that book, right? That triggers the fuck out of me. Triggers, because we talk about being people skills. We talk about, understanding people, and it's like, why do I want to read this leadership book? Why do I have to read it? You liked it. You're the CEO. You probably agree with it. You're probably already doing it. You own a company, right? So why are we making everybody else do it? So I'm just going to put that out there to the universe. It triggers me every time somebody reads the book and then says, you have to read this and you have to act like this. Maybe you do. Maybe Buddy does. So again, reading is a good thing. Most intelligent people read. All right, you gain knowledge, right? You gain other people's perspectives, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone. All right, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody in your organization. All right, so that's pretty simple Book of Earl. All right, don't be that guy. Don't be that book leader where you read this and you have this epiphany and now everybody else has to do it. And it all started with fucking Jocko. All right, that's what really got me. It all started with Jocko, and I've called Jocko out before. And he actually responded to me, and he's like, "No, extreme ownership." Like, well, sir, if your plan sucked, I'm not owning it when I leave the room. All right. It's your stupid shit. I'm going to go tell the guys are going to go do it, but it's still dumb as fuck. Got it? All right. So that's what we're doing. All right. That's what got me. All right. Sorry, buddy.
That sounds like a very specific incident that just happened recently.
It did, buddy. It triggered me.
What was the incident, though?
I can't talk about it.
He's not going to share that shit.
I'm not going to get fired.
He'll tell us later. I'm not going to get fired from the one job that I have.
No. All right, but I will put it out there. Okay, I will put it out. I'll give some context. This book deals with rocks. Okay, and make sure you have your big rocks and your little rocks. All right, and we want to put the little rocks. Right.
Prioritizing.
Exactly. It's
I
prioritizing.
have to read that book. I saw it on a TikTok video. It's not a huge deal. There's an aquarium involved. There's a big aquarium. They put like some big rocks and then some little rocks, and they shook it around. They did some medium.
Now everybody's talking like this is my big rock for the week, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, in the meetings I'm like,
what you're saying, what bothers you is not the theory or implementing the theory. What bothers you is the cliche talk that comes from it after the theory.
That's what happens. If it's not, if it's not authentic and it's not genuine.
Let's circle back. Let's circle back.
What if it?
It's like yelling suppressive fire in a firefight. What the fuck does that mean?
It ends up being what people in charge say when they don't know what to say because cussing's not allowed, and then they just say stupid shit like that means something to like it's up to the user to understand what it means. It's like when you're talking to somebody who's been in therapy for 1 year, for exactly 1 year, and they talk to you and they're like, does that make sense? Does it make sense? And you're like, yeah, it's a pretty easy theory that you're talking to me about. Like, yeah, I get it. Does it make sense? I feel like you aren't being open and communicative with me. Does that make sense? Yeah, bitch, you think I don't talk to you. I got it. Like, you get it. What were you saying? Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're supposed to comment on it. It's the buzzwords, and it's always bothered me, and that's why I troll everybody on LinkedIn. Is I have the greatest leader of all time, 2016, in my title, right? Runner up, right? I didn't win. I was second in 2016 for all time. And the reason I do that is because it triggers me when somebody says I'm a transformational leader.
Ooh.
What if I don't need to transform? What if I don't want you to transform anything? Like, what if I like my company the way it's going? I just need somebody to run this department. I don't need you to change shit, right? So now I'm not hiring you because that's all you want.
That guy.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke. Yeah.
But that's a person who read what is it, Nordhaus or whatever for leadership. He reads that book.
It's kind of like the Goodwill Hunting version of leadership training. Like, oh, okay, so you're in your first year of leadership training. You're gonna tell me how to prioritize my stuff. Next thing you're gonna go into is
big rocks.
Yeah.
I'm getting fired on Monday, by the way. So
you'll be all right.
Well, that's why our PLs always shut up when it came to
you're resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. And that's the other thing too, is in this book, it says start every meeting out with a personal and professional best for the week. And it's like, and now mind you, like I said, know your people.
Professional and
personal. Know your audience. Okay. Know your audience. Yeah. Right. And someone watching the show, right, in the comments knows what I'm talking about. He's part of the group that doesn't like this either. But it's all, 20-year plus retired guys, and you're talking to them about hunting the good stuff again. It's like, Jesus Christ, bro, we all love each other. Like, that dude was a Navy SEAL. Like, this guy was a Ranger. That guy, like we love each other. Dude, we got it. Every time we wake up, we're hunting good stuff. We look in the mirror and I'm fucking happy. Right. So it's like, I'm just saying, know your audience. What do you got, Dr. Friedman? Are you a leadership book guy? You got to read something and then make everybody else do it.
He has motivational speech. He's fighting at the bits to tell you how fucked up you are.
What's his gas, Big Earl?
Yeah. He's actually got the book. He's about to pull it out.
He's got Nordhaus.
He's about to pull a book he wrote himself. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
And so, starting Monday, Big Earl, I need you to start reading this book, and we're going to go through every chapter because I'm a transformational leader here. Okay, and I'm here to
can
help
we
you
call that
transform your
translator?
leadership
That would be fun.
style. Okay, we're going to go through all this, and by the time you get done, you're going to be the best leader that you've ever seen in your life. Okay, just read "Igniting Movements" by Damon Friedman, and you're going to be good to go.
I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
No, you know what though, Big Earl, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I hated it when my leaders would force me to read a book just because they love it. So I completely understand in that. Right. Number two is I think that when it comes to books, it needs to be very relative to the community that you're trying to communicate with. Right. So there are people that love to read books. I think when I was an officer and I was in charge of the next generational leaders, the lieutenants and the captains that crossed over in special operations or majors, there are some really good books out there to read. I'm not a big guy where I'm like, I need you to read this whole book and then let's sit down and talk about it. I kind of like Lincoln on Leadership. That was great, or Ulysses S. Grant. I think it's Cigars, Whiskey, and Winning or something like that. But they're all like kind of like devotionals. And I think each one has a golden nugget. And I think the most important part is when you read something, you take something away that's very relative to you as our leader. I think each piece, every book is very relative. I think reading is healthy, but I also think that at many times it's kind of just a tool, but lots of leaders replace good leadership with a book. Right. And I'm the kind of guy that show me, set the standard, set the example, lead from the front. And that's the kind of leadership I like. And if you really want to boil it down to what kind of leadership I appreciate most, I'm going to throw this out there. There's this like mission statement out there in the military, and I got blasted. I wrote an article about this. It's always like mission first. People always, you ever heard that? It's really a nice way of saying, you listen,
It's buzzword.
The mission's going to be, this is why you're here. Without the mission, you don't have a job. There is no Army. There's no Navy. There's no Air Force. There's no Marine Corps. Hoorah. No Coasties and no Space Force. Come on, give it up with the Space Force.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
Give it up. Okay. And then,
they're not real.
And then all of a sudden it's like, the reality is that when servant leadership is my style. They say mission first, people always. I kind of flipped it around because I served 20 years and I had numerous deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I got really exhausted. I can't even tell you how many Thanksgivings, how many Christmases, how many anniversaries, how many birthdays that I missed year after year after year. 2003, 2008, 2009, 2012. All these combat deployments, I'm missing some very valuable valuable places. And when are we going to actually start taking care of people? So one day I kind of threw a big wrench in the whole system. I pissed off a couple of leaders. And I said, what about if we said people first and then mission always? And this was my paradigm shift. And it was kind of just going against the grain. I know that the mission is here. Our mission in the United States military is no joke. It's to preserve the freedom, to protect America, to fight for those that can't fight for themselves. Right. That's what we are. We're a patriotic country. We're a republic. But I got to a point where I said, when are we going to get to the point where we're going to actually take care of our warriors? So I flipped the switch and I said, people first, because if you take care of people, then the mission is always going to be taken care of, right? There's always going to be a war, right? It never ends. There's a war. There's wars all over the world, all over the places that people don't even talk about. So I kind of flipped the switch and I said, you know what? We need to start taking care of people first. And so that's the way it is. But when it comes to like leadership books, I'm very, very, very careful when it comes to that. But I know why Big Earl has a trigger on this. Okay. Because I have the same trigger too. There was a commander that I had and he made me read a book every month. You think you had it bad, Big Earl? Try having a leader that
I was enlisted. They didn't make me read shit. I had to find the doctrine to read it. Get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, like one book every month, man. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Man. So I started Googling, right. And figuring out what other people were saying about the books. And also if you're going to make anybody read it, you better make it count. You better make it count. But anyway, I do understand.
You guys have officers' book clubs? That sounds fun, though.
They do. They have generals like reading lists. Like when a new general comes in, it's like, this is my reading list.
Look,
and then like when you're on one of your stupid runs, they'll ask you a question about it.
Yeah. Like, yeah. What about Marine? What about the commandant's reading list? What about that? What'd you
You
think?
know
I'm
what's
saying
always,
they
One's
all
the
have
Marine Corps. I
all
don't
these
think the
generals
Marine
have
Corps has
reading
one.
lists. I'm
you
just
know what's
they do,
always,
yeah.
you know what's always super funny to me?
It was Curious
Like-
George. The number one on Commandant's reading list is Curious George. All right,
Yeah,
the man
like-
of the yellow hat.
read all of these books about great leaders, and then when you go, well, what books did those guys read? Shouldn't I be reading those books and not the book about them? Like, because they learned it from somewhere, and it wasn't from this book. So why am I reading this one?
Well, I mean, again, everybody wants to do the
also-
Sun Tzu stuff too. It's like, in that book, that motherfucker says, put your force in a position where they have to win, and they'll fight to the death. No shit, right? That's common sense, homie. Like,
the other thing is that saying, mission first, people always. I hate that saying. I don't care which way you put it. It's the stupidest thing. We're gonna break a whole leadership style and a leadership philosophy down into 2 lines. And if you remember these 2 lines, you're fucking retarded, because anybody can interpret that as, oh, mission first, people always. Oh, well, we got a machine gun nest we got to go get. So that's the mission. Should I? So Billy's got a wife and 2 kids. Should I put him first or the mission? I don't know. I'm just gonna sit here and get shot at. Fucking retarded. I hate it. Hate it. Whoever thought of that should be punched in the balls, just like the guy that thought up ghost emails.
No, and then I'll argue with Dr. Friedman.
Fucking lazy to write an email.
You see how this triggers people? You see what happens?
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, this is from my own triggerness, right? It just brings the worst out of you, right?
Hey,
like
you know what, Big Earl, since you're talking about being triggered, I want to share something that triggers me. Can I share something? And this is in line.
I mean, you're the guest. You're the guest.
Why don't we do something crazy, like introduce the guest and let him talk about what triggers him?
Buddy, that's your job in the script. Feel free. You went on your tangent. You could have used that tangent time to do what it said you were going to do on the script, buddy.
I don't think that's my job.
No,
I think I got
it's your job, Nick. It's your job.
Is it mine?
Yeah,
I wrote it hammered shit-faced yesterday.
That's 100% you, dude. Yeah, that's why I tried to segue for you earlier when I was like, but you're resilient.
Oh, I thought Buddy was doing. You're doing the
I
AAR.
was watching that too, because I'm familiar with the script and nobody was following it. And he went down a completely different rabbit hole here. Now we're talking about triggered and all that.
That's what we do.
And what leaders do.
It's a dumpster fire for a reason.
Read books on Mondays.
Yeah.
You know what triggers me? What triggers
Welcome
me
to the
is
dumpster
people,
fire.
like, leadership by email. That's what frustrates me. People who are constantly leading through emails that they don't even have the intestinal fortitude, the courage to actually have a one-on-one conversation. They're just giving commands and reprimand through emails. Absolutely no.
Yeah, and you know what that causes, Doc? That causes people to sit at their desk and wait on an email to be told to them what to do and how to react. And then all of the people that need to be led are just sitting around
Waiting on the word.
Doing
Waiting
nothing,
on the word.
waiting on the word.
Yeah.
No leadership is happening when leadership by email is a thing. E-leadership is not a real deal.
E-leadership.
I remember when sergeant majors and commanders, mostly sergeant majors, used to walk around the battalion and just like check on people, ask questions, see what was going on. They knew people's names. You don't even see platoon sergeants anymore in the regular Army. They're too busy waiting on an email to tell them that they've got some 351- training that they got to do.
Yeah.
Or 350-1 training.
Yeah. Well, let me introduce the guest, buddy, because he won't shut up, and I've been trying to introduce him for like 20 minutes, and then that being said, kids, don't drink and write scripts, because then you forget who you put to do anything. But anyways, I got an email, and it's these are always the strange ones when these PR people reach out to me and like Faceman on Veteran Trash Talk. They're like, I got a guest that I think would be good for you, and I'm sitting here like, oh, here we go. This guy is somebody who has not seen our show, so I don't know if he knows if this is going to be a good fit for him or not. Maybe they have seen the show. I don't know. But they start asking like, hey, do you have any like prerequisite questions or formats you want to fill out? I'm like, okay, this person has not seen this show. We have no idea what we're going to talk about on the show. And
we don't even
there's
know that
zero Yeah, we didn't even know we had a podcast for 3 months. All right, so it was just, is what it is.
A little bit longer than that.
But I got a little intrigued by the, by the bio that they sent me with Dr. Friedman, and he was a jarhead, and then I guess maybe somebody made him read a book, and then he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to fucking college."
He realized he could read.
He realized he could read, and then he probably, just one step smarter than me. When I actually was on an Air Force base finishing my degree as an RI, I was like, the Air Force has got it real fucking good, right? And like I just never made that leap, but this guy decided to, right? And then he got his PhD from University of Phoenix, and then he hung some paddles up. So, Dr. Friedman, welcome to the dumpster fire, and tell us about your Marine Corps paddling days, and then University of Phoenix.
First of all, I respect everyone from the University of Phoenix and all the degrees that they offer. But unfortunately, publicly, I have to just say that I did not graduate from the University of Phoenix. But thank you, Big
Damn,
Earl.
you didn't even graduate from the University of Phoenix?
You didn't even graduate?
No.
Lord, you went there but couldn't graduate? Don't talk smack about him, then. I will just keep it down.
Yeah. So, just a little bit about me. Which kind of explains why I served in the Marine Corps. Everybody has a reason why they decide to raise their right hand, join the military, put on that uniform, and sacrifice. First of all, I'm a kid from downtown LA. I was raised in the projects, low income housing. My mother is from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Made like $4.25 an hour just to put rice and beans on the table. I always do a shout out to my mom on every show, on any place I go, even on the stage whenever I speak, because she's the first Wonder Woman of my life. I had a biological father that was extremely abusive. And I mean, like when I say abusive, it was a bad situation that my twin brother and I were in. And my mom was always the shield. She was always the shield when he would come home drunk, doped up, whatever it was. She would always stand in between us. And and one of the reasons why I mentioned this situation is because as we were moving forward, being from LA, my mom was able to get into a position so that she can raise her two boys and have a future. And I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't much. I lived in a 425 square foot apartment with green carpet and cockroaches. And even though it wasn't much, it was a roof over our head. And that's what my mom could afford. And I respect her and I love her for that. There were times that, in fact, when we had no food, our country provided. They provided my housing, they provided food, and then when it was time for an education, I'm a juvenile delinquent, legit in jail, right? And I'm trying to figure out, man, you know what? I don't want to be a loser. I want to do something with my life, and it was there in jail where I kind of had like a very spiritual experience. I'm not a religious person. I just remember that one moment that I just felt like the creator of the universe was speaking to me and said that I had a future. So, I was always running away from cops all the time and they never caught me. So I figured, hey, I got a gift. And my gift was to run, man. So I left that jail cell, man. And I aimed for gold, baby. And I started running like 100 miles a week. One summer I ran 1,000 miles, man. And one day I woke up, I'm at the starting line. I'm looking to the left and to the right. And I'm telling everybody, it's like, you guys better figure it out. Who's going to be second? Because I'm going to be first, bro. And literally, man, I ended up becoming the fastest runner. And we moved from California to Florida. I was undefeated in the mile, the 800. And then all of a sudden one day I got the phone call and my mom's crying, man. And she's like, Francisco, yeah, my first name is Francis. Okay. Try being raised with a name
Lighten
like
up,
Francis in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's why you were so fast.
She's like, yeah. So she's like, Francisco, you got all these universities calling. Now I got to tell you something. You have to understand how important this is. Nobody in my family has ever graduated high school, right? So when I say piss poor, when I say nothing, we didn't have anything. So our country provided an education. And after 5.5 years, because I was on the 5.5-year plan, all right? Okay, because 5.5 years is better in college than 4 years. All you people out there that graduated early for 3.5, you got screwed, man. Okay, and that was your own fault. Okay, I was 5.5 years. Don't be angry at me because I had 5.5 years of college fun. Anyway, with that being said, once I graduated, my mom came to me and she said, what are you gonna do now? And because my country was so good to our family, I decided to join the Marine Corps. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the Marine Corps was the best decision I could have possibly ever make. I was 5'6" before I joined the Corps, and they broke me down. They busted me down. They built me back up, man. I got another inch, man. I'm 5'7" now. So I have to thank the Marine Corps for giving me another inch. All you soldiers, Air Force, whatever.
That was just your boots.
Yeah, no, bro, no, it wasn't.
Not a huge deal, but in the Army,
Don't
they
try to
issue
take
you
something
2
away
inches.
from me, Big Earl. Okay, that's important to me. All right, an inch is important. You must be one of those tall guys, right? Looking at all the
Well, I'm tall. Yeah. Oh yeah.
beneath you.
Yeah.
Shorter.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Boom. Easy, killer, easy.
Hashtag stilts.
So I joined the Corps, man, and I'm going to tell you it was the best decision. And at the time, there were not a lot of infantry slots, and there was a lot of support. There was no war going on. It was 2000, and they gave me logistics. And I went in to be an infantryman. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a platoon commander. I wanted to be in the infantry. I wanted to charge that hill. And you know what? The Corps gave me logistics, and I had to make a command decision. You know, even though I wasn't happy about it, nothing wrong with logistics. I have mad respect for logisticians.
Well, you can make fun of them.
You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm
you don't
just
have to
telling
do
you, man,
any
I
of
know
what
it's
you're
like-
doing right now. You don't have to do.
I'm just telling you,
just
man.
have to say,
but I was
without
there.
supply,
I was
bullets don't
there.
fly.
I was
Or
the
whatever
guy
it
you
is
guys
they
made fun
say
of,
to make
man.
them feel
I
better
was the
about
guy
being
that
folks.
you made fun of, and I cried in the corner because of guys like you in the fetal position, man.
Hey, not a huge deal. The vice president of the United States is a pogue, guys. He's a pogue and in charge of the E4 mafia for real.
Dude, well,
Right.
You know,
We have the new admin of Army. What the fuck
I
moments?
understand support, man. All right, and sometimes we get the the back end of the stick, and so all of a sudden 2001 hits, right? 9/11, and then boom, there was a war. And what happened was I went through the invasion 2003. I was part of INSAF 1, Task Force Tarawa, and then we went through all the way up south of Baghdad, and then I came back down, and that changed my life. And so all of a sudden I came back and I heard 2nd Force Recon was opening up all MOSs. I was like, Force Recon, this was my in. So I went, I assessed, and I got selected. I was the #1 guy. And then I came in and I went through the recon indoctrination and became the Pathfinder team leader. We were just talking about Pathfinder school and a bunch of badge protectors out there. Anyway,
did you get
100%.
Did you get your
100%.
badge? Did you get your badge?
Yeah, I got my badge. It's right there, man. It's right
there.
But did you?
Here's my badge.
Was it?
Right
Was it
Apparently
nepotism?
It's attainable. It's apparently
What year?
attainable. I'm just saying, you got to try hard. Can't just.
What year
show
did you
up.
get it?
Yeah. What year did you get a Pathfinder badge?
What year?
What year? It was 2005.
Oh, I
Oh,
wasn't there
that was
then.
before Buddy. Buddy
Yeah,
was just getting promoted to staff sergeant, so
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2005.
for the
man.
third
It
time-
wasn't
for the
fun.
third
I
time.
didn't like
Yeah,
anybody. I didn't like
maybe
any of
fourth.
the instructors. I just kept my mouth shut. They kept making fun of me because I was a Marine. Anyway.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
well,
sense.
we have to.
Correct.
Just like when I was a Ranger instructor, it was like.
Oh,
you know,
you were a Ranger instructor? What year were
Yeah.
you a Ranger instructor? I want to know right now.
2012 through 15.
Man, I went through in 2005. 2000.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Pathfinder was 2004. I got to go ahead and check my DD214. But then I went through Ranger school, and all the Ranger instructors were like, when I crossed over into the Air Force, which I'll explain in a second what happened. The
Yeah.
first school going in
What happened?
after
If
I got
we get
selected
there.
for combat control, special
What
tactics
had
officer was
happened
Ranger
was-
school. And you guys are angry people. Big Earl, Ranger instructors are angry human beings, man.
For no reason.
For no reason at all.
fucking
You
Not
reason.
the not the Florida RIs. We were candy, bro.
Oh, that's
the
not
Florida RIs. are
That's not
easy.
true. I got a major minus in Florida for falling asleep.
Well,
Big
And
Earl,
to be honest,
yeah.
I didn't know that I was
no,
asleep.
I was when I wrote major minuses for sleeping. I was nice about it. I wrote it out, and then I woke them up, and I said, "Hey, man, sign this for me." And then they sign it, and
no.
I take it back. And
I was legitimately 3 months out of Ranger school before I realized that I was sleeping. Like, I would have told you before, like, fuck no, I wasn't. I was looking down. And then it dawned on me 3 months later that RI went 300 meters from where I had looked at him when I looked down at the ants that were biting me to right in front of me instantaneously. And I was like, I wasn't sleeping. I was looking at these ants. And then I look up at him and he's like just standing there. And I was like, you're fast. And then it was 3 months later. I was like, oh, I did pass out. I must have passed out.
The
Didn't
stories at
realize-
Ranger school. The stories at Ranger school. I just remember the first time when we're just sitting there and we're getting whatever.
Dave didn't go.
Nah,
Yeah. No,
That's
and
the first
RIs
time I
just
realized that
went
hallucinations could be fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
how about this? What about when dudes start?
Hopefully
dropping?
Tyler will go. At least Ranger Tal will come to the Trenton family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Ranger School was fun only because second phase during mountain phase, I got greens the entire time. I got goes every single time, so I got lucky, and that was just from my force recon training. And I remember my Ranger instructors. I still have my fresh BDUs. I crossed over. I had an Air Force name tag, an Eagle Globe and Anchor, ironed on my BDUs, right? But I'm going through an Army school, and I remember Ranger instructor Big Earl coming up to me, right, towering over me, making all these short jokes, unnecessary, by the way, Big Earl. And then
Completely
you're like
necessary.
He's like, what
Completely
are you?
necessary.
What are you, Ranger student? What are you? Are you Marine? Are you Air Force?
Yeah, is it bring your kid to work day?
What's wrong? Are you confused?
Yeah.
Right. I had to deal with that for all those phases.
Which RI brought their kid today?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly. And then a second phase, I get a go. And what does Big Earl do to give me, like, to make me feel better? He made me the calm guy, so I can lead some like deranged lieutenant that doesn't even know how to wear a Kevlar helmet. And I was forced to kind of show him where to go. And then we fall down the mountain rolling, and the big radio just smashes the back of my head. And I woke up in the hospital, and I was like, they're like, dude, you could just leave now. I'm like, no way. I've gone through all this crap from Big Earl. I'm going to stick around. But you know what? They washed my clothes because I smelled like, what, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
mountains will fuck you up.
I stench. Yeah. And you know what they also did? They got me barbecue that night and some Snickers. I felt really bad, but I did it anyway. So I got one on you, Big Earl. I would have
never felt bad.
No, we did a memorial for one of our battle buddies that completed suicide a couple weeks ago, but he was a Ranger instructor when I went through, and he's like, "Hey, Ranger," he's like, "You got a Snickers bar in your canteen pouch." I'm like, "No, fuck, I don't." And then I turned around and saw him, and because he was a E6 when I was like an E4 in the same battalion, and he's like, "You have a Snickers bar, Ranger. You better get rid of that." And he put one in when I was not sleeping, he put one in my fucking canteen pouch, and so fucking smashed it. So I cheated in Ranger School too. I'm not true blue. Yeah.
Anybody that tells you that somebody offered them some type of food in Ranger School, and they were like, "Oh, my honor will not allow me. My integrity, Mr. Ranger instructor, is beyond reproach." No, sir. Fuck that. Dude, I almost ate one of those cave grasshoppers. We're going up in mountains. I was going up a hill. I put my hand on this log, and the bark came off, and there was this greasy looking grasshopper. I grabbed it and was just about to throw it in my mouth. And I was like, what am I doing? It's not that bad yet. And I threw it back down and kept it moving. It was horrible.
Well, you know what, in Ranger School, that phrase, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying. No.
Right?
When you got to where you could graze somewhere, the greatest. The greatest. Anyway.
Oh man.
Are you gonna actually introduce
I already introduced the guest. He's supposed to talk about how he went to the Air Force.
Now it's time to talk about your actual stuff.
So, and then I literally said, if we ever get to it.
Yeah. So
what do you got going on, Doc? What do you got going on?
The Air Force. Well, let me tell you why. Okay, let me tell you why. This was like before. This was pre-MARSOC, right? And even at Force Recon, you didn't get the good gear. Everything was you didn't get the mission. There were a lot of challenges over at Second Force, and then because I had whoever my monitor was a total loser. And they're like, well, your primary MOS, they hadn't made Force Recon as a primary MOS. They wanted to send me back to the second FSSG. And I was like, no. And I'm supposed to deploy as a platoon commander in Recon. And so they started trying to pull me early. Now, this was before MARSOC. I had no idea. A couple of years later, MARSOC was born. They grabbed Second Force, First Force, and all that, and they stood it up. But I will tell you this, all of a sudden, one of my buddies who was a Force Recon Marine was a former combat controller. And there was a mass exodus of Recon Marines going to special tactics. And I heard about it. And I was like, well, why would a Marine want to go in the Air Force? Like that doesn't make any sense. But here's the reality. The Air Force was standing up the most lethal, most potent unit. If you just think about it, these are just stats alone, guys, right? It was like 3 out of every 4 kills, a JTAC was involved in it. The predominant force for JTACs was combat control. Right. I mean, we're talking about mass destruction, brother.
They kill wholesale.
And you get to this point where we get to this point where
they do. Absolutely.
In the war, we're sitting there, troops in contact. Hey, CCT, where you at? And we're like, oh, there's machine gun fire over at that building. Everybody just chill out. Hey, Ranger, why don't you go ahead and eat that Snickers? Because I'm about to blow it up. F-15. Hey, this is me. cleared hot. Boom, building's gone. Let's keep moving forward. There's just something sexy about that.
There's something really
sexy about
like,
taking villages off the face of the earth. There's something sexy about that, man. Right? It's
there's times where, you know, that quote where it's like, you know, do you work hard, or how do you know I'm not hard while I'm at work? I remember getting off of a helicopter, picking up a 240.
Never heard that quote before.
Right? No, it comes from when you pick up the radio and all you see is destruction coming from the sky, and I grab the fires net and all I hear is the CCT just like calling in moving targets, and then all of a sudden bringing in Spooky, and then bringing in freaking a fast mover right on top after that. After he goes bingo on his 35, not the 35. What's the
25 millimeter Gatling gun?
Yeah, the 30. After he goes that, all of a sudden, you know, another plane just fucking comes right through and like, hey, I can do cartwheels to the objective now. Like,
it's awesome, man.
So
I mean,
you get a little bit of a chub, and Buddy knows this. You get a little bit of a chub when that's going on.
I will tell you, I'm quite excited when it comes to, you know, being able to control air power in that capacity. I mean, yeah, F-15s, F-16s, F-18s. You got drones, you got gunships, you got you got A-10s, you got the Apaches, you got artillery 105, 155. You got more. You're controlling all the air power. You're just like, hey, SF team, why don't you guys go ahead, take a knee, get some chow, right? Clean, you know, go ahead and clean up or whatever, because I see this orchestra here, the symphony. I got it all under control. We're going to make some music out there. And there's something really, really attractive about that.
Buddy.
And over in Force Recon, I wanted to be a JTAC. They made me the Pathfinder team leader. I was a jump master and all that. Like, I wanted to own everything from the air. So when I heard about combat control, I was like, this is the most incredible mission ever. And I felt like that was my calling, right? And so moving forward on that, all I know is, like, even Dan over there, right? My boy Dan, like, he was a special operations JTAC himself. And so he and I are always talking about those great times and those great moments on how we were able to bring hate and discontent upon the enemy. And, you know, one of the coolest things, even though I was an officer, right? And I forced my troops like Big Earl to read books on leadership, right? He's not getting triggered, you know. No, that's not true. Actually,
extreme ownership.
Yeah, extreme
fucking
ownership.
Jacko.
Why did you better read that book, bro? Okay. Anyway, so it's like, but just kind of moving forward, we didn't have enough JTACs over, you know, in country, so they started using the officers, and that's where I got my predominant most combat experience. Besides the 2003 invasion. I don't know if you guys were involved in the 2003 invasion, but everyone.
Buddy planned it
after. No, I was in Korea for the invasion, and I was there in 0304.
You got some. Yeah. I mean, everybody got some. And the interesting thing, especially in the Marine Corps, it doesn't even mean anything about what your MOS is. Like, everybody got action from supply to motor T, not just the infantry. Like, everybody fought the enemy. Everybody got some action. But in CCT, I was rolling all the time. I was a JTAC to 2 SF teams in the 2008 deployment, 2009. Also, I went out in 2010 with General McChrystal, the commander of U.S. forces, into the Korengal, Death Valley. That's kind of where I got my just some visibility on some of the actions, having 3 combat controllers, 2 SF teams, 200 Taliban, you know, enemy locals, and then coming back. And because of that, that was actually a paradigm shift for me. I started dealing, like, on a serious note. I know this is trash talk and everything, but this is super important.
No, we have a very serious show sometimes.
In the very beginning of the show, one of you guys actually had a very important message, and it's about saying it's okay to not be okay, right? That is super important, because over 20 veterans are taking their lives every single day, and it's
more than that now.
Yeah,
the new numbers just came out. The new number, it's I forgot what it was, but it's devastating.
It is totally devastating. And so here we are. I served 20 years in the military, numerous deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm asking my government, I'm asking my country, what are we doing for our veterans? And I'll tell you, you don't have to go 20 years. All you need to have is one deployment, and that's it. 100%. It changes you. In 2003, I remember to this very day, bro, I remember the first dead body, right? I didn't kill that guy. I just knew that it was one of my men. The guy's laying down. He got brain matter coming out of the ear. To this very day, it's the first dead body. It's the nightmare that I have most. I'm just a kid. When I joined the military, I was a kid. There's no doubt about it. When I after that invasion, I was a man, no doubt. And so just you participate in some of these catastrophic events. I don't have any qualms at all of any prosecutions I've ever had. By God's grace, I've never killed a woman and never killed a child. Just bad people doing bad things. and I felt like every kill was righteous. My frustration and my anger and rage is seeing my brothers and sisters, and I say sisters, I mean, we can make some jokes, but we got some bad to the bone women out there, especially in JSOC.
Oh, the majority of our moderators are women.
Yep.
Female veterans that are very powerful, have very
we don't even
powerful
call them
stories.
female veterans. They're just veterans.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're just veterans to us.
And,
But
and,
yeah.
and so when I look at it all, I'm just thinking about how we can take care of our guys. They come back, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how many friends you have that have killed themselves, but I'll tell you what, like even right now, we got one special operator that was part of my team, and he went like homeless, right? How is it possible that our guys, they go through hell and then they come out and they can't figure out how to transition? People don't understand that. It was like when I came back from my 2010 deployment, I was going on green team over at JSOC. And literally, I think I'd have to look back at the actual days, but I normally say it's like a week, right? I go back, it was a mid deployment. I came back specifically from that fire, from that 7-day disruption operation, 72 hours, no sleep, prosecuting numerous targets. And literally 1 week later, I'm in my living room with my wife and my 2 kids. How in the world am I going to be a father and a husband in those circumstances? And the only check for resiliency, and bad on all the leaders out there, bad on all of you. If one of your troops, this was the go so that you can go in and transition back to your family, right? Hey, FN, Foxtrot November, my operating initials. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. You sure you're good? Oh, I'm good. What else am I going to say? What else am I going to say? Right? What else am I going to say? I spent 3 months, sleeping an hour a night, hunting down bad people, right? Killing them, losing some of my brothers, right? I mean, it's hectic, man. It's chaotic. Oh, I'm fine. And now I'm in the living room with my family. So
yeah,
now, it's like, that's
a lot of that I good was embedded into us from a young age. Like,
Well, that's what I was going to
so in
say.
the military back then, you say you were good because you were scared of reprimand, like you were scared of getting fired, losing your position. Back then, you were scared of promotion.
That's right.
When I was going for the board for E8, I went to mental health the first time in 2010 after 2 deployments, and I knew something was going on with me, nightmares. Like, I was having some serious issues. And they're like, well, the 8 board's coming up. You might not want to go to the 4th or 5th floor of Womack. You just might want to just like do some counseling. I was literally told that by a doctor. And that's what I chose. And then I got promoted, successful careers at First Sergeant, whatever. But it's that whole stigma and everything. I feel like we're getting a lot better, but back then,
no, we're not.
I'm gonna tell you.
Well, hey, I'll introduce Damon. I want to talk. I'll get you into what you're doing now.
Hey, I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Yeah, grab a cup of coffee. I'll get you what you're doing now is we started this during COVID because we knew that there'd be an uptick in active duty suicide, and we were all still active at the time. So we started this to have a platform to where people could, conversate. And our buddy Joe, who does the fight show with us, he said, no veteran kills himself in a room full of veterans. And with social media, we can have a room like we have now. We can have a room full of veterans, and it's a hard adjustment for us. And now that we have a social media company, we're kind of on it all the time, but we didn't like it. We weren't the guys that were going all over social media and doing all kinds of influencing and yada, yada, yada. So, but, we embrace the technology of meeting people where they were at and where we can actually, do some damage in a good way of bringing people. And then again, we all have you have a tremendous, service record where you can put your chest out and be a bro vet all you want, just like we can too. Right, like we have the backgrounds, we have the kill counts or whatever, and we can bro vet it, but we don't. Right, there's no real purpose to it unless it's called for. Right, and then you talked about like one deployment changes you, like just changing your entire lifestyle when you get into the military. You're not even doing a deployment, just for a year. Like I said, maybe not sleeping. All right, having a job as a cook in the Army where you are working dog shit hours and still got to do your Army stuff. Right, like people need to check up on you. Like people, and like I said, not just ask if you're okay, but yeah, what do you got going on now? What's called you into what you're doing now, and where can we where can people get to what you're doing and help you out?
So the reason why I mentioned the 2010 deployment is because many of us brethren, right, start struggling with suicidal ideations. So I already experienced multiple mild traumatic brain injuries, which is synonymous with concussions. We're talking about blurred vision, light sensitivity, headaches, all that stuff. That's compounded when you have post-traumatic stress and you're thinking about those. You're having bad dreams, you're having flashbacks, and you're having a very difficult time self-regulating, and all of a sudden your family starts becoming victims of circumstance. And I think for me in 2010, it was a culminating point, and I just felt like I was kind of a monster. What I did was I brought the war home. Just so many deployments. It's like, what else do you do? By then it was like the third, like real extensive combat experience, deployment coming in. And I never got help for all the same reasons that you were talking about. And I was concerned about my promotion. I was concerned about my credibility. I was concerned about how people would look at me. I was concerned about being grounded. I was concerned that they were going to just put me aside, and they would have. Hands down. They're like, oh no, in special tactics, they wouldn't. Every unit will say, no, we would never do it. We take care of our troops. And like I said, and I think I can't recall which one of you guys were like, I hate that saying, mission first, people always. I hate it too. It's like, I'm going to get some criticism from some senior leaders, GEOs in particular. But the reality is that I'm very sensitive about that. So in 2010, I almost became a victim. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm just sitting there. Many of us have found ourselves either in the car or in the living room with your Glock 19 loaded, right? And you're contemplating doing it. And the reason why you're thinking it through, and you're like, oh, it's valid. It's valid because, if I'm dead, then no longer my family doesn't have to deal with this anymore. If I'm dead, I don't have to deal with the pain anymore. And also, I'm worth X amount of dollars dead with the SGLI or whatever it may be, right? My family's going to be better off. Man, it's like we talk about, we were kind of joking in the beginning about this Satan's book. You know what? I believe in good and evil. I believe there's a God in the universe that has a plan for every person. I believe that he is the true essence of what is good. And I also believe that there's an enemy called Satan, and his job is to basically, if you can't in any way die, he will find a way for you to use your own freedom, take your own freedom. So here you have these words being whispered in your ear, and they're all lies, because the world is so much better because you're in it. I will tell you that suicide is by far the most selfish thing that you could possibly do. I'm going to answer your question in a second, Big Earl, because this is super important.
No, go ahead.
Right?
Cheers.
No, go ahead, dude. We're going a little bit longer today. You're good.
What we're doing right now with the Resiliency Clinic is literally it is transforming lives. It really is, and I'm going to explain why it is. All right, but all I know is that I was informed of one of my SF guys. He had 3 daughters, and he did it. He committed suicide. And I don't know why this has shaken me. Maybe it's 3 daughters, right? My question is, who is going to walk those girls down the aisle? Who? And when you start asking those profound questions, I have a son, I have a daughter. I do. I think my son's going to be just fine. I do. All right. But he still needs a father when he gets older, to be there. I don't have a father. My stepfather is my dad, but I never had a father growing up. Okay. But I know my daughter needs me. Okay. My children need me. And I know that the world is better because I'm in it. So what ended up happening in 2010, I put that gun down. And then for 1.5 years, I got help. But check it out. My help was not under the DOD. To this very day, right now, there's articles being written right now, at an all-time high suicide since 2002, 22, 23, 24. It's at the highest again. For every 10 active duty that kill themselves, 6 of them were within the last 90 days. They were in counseling, not working. 3 of them were an outpatient, and 1 of them was an inpatient. The system is broke, man. And I will go toe to toe with every leader out there. And I'll say, you show me how you're putting your time, money, and energy into the troops that are doing all the heavy lifting. You show me, because whatever it is an epic failure. So for me, I got all my care outside of the military, and it was all nonprofits and people of faith. And I'll tell you this much, that I got psychological care, physical care. I got spiritual care and social care. And I believe that's the only way you're going to be able to combat the suicide epidemic, that people are fit, psychologically fit, socially, spiritually, cognitively. The whole
It's a system.
It is.
Yeah.
People think, Joe killed himself because his wife left him. No. Joe killed himself because he couldn't pay the bills. No. Joe killed himself because, you know, the transition was hard. No, that's not the case. Those are byproducts of the prime product. Joe killed himself because he wasn't resilient to
Have
be
you-
able to deal with those chronic stress, the chronic pain, the insomnia, the PTSD, the mild traumatic brain injury. It goes on and on and on. Joe's having an existentialistic crisis, and he's vulnerable across the board. And these events, the marital strife, the financial instability, can't find a job, you know, feeling like an alien in this real world, those are the tipping points.
I
Does
feel
that make
like
sense,
I feel
guys?
like you're right, but I feel like at the same time, we touched on it a little bit earlier when we talked about leadership by email. I don't know if that was before the show or when we started the show, but we touched on it a little bit more.
He's on the show. Yeah.
There's less human contact with their leaders. And I think that we pay a lot of attention to treating trauma, and we put a lot of money towards treating. We put a lot of money towards resources that are there if people use them for treating trauma. We put very little emphasis on preparing for trauma.
Oh, that's what I go to. I go to DC a lot to lobby for
You know
that.
what I
If
mean?
you should read
Like,
how sick
we put
the
a lot of,
NDAA is for that.
well, it's and you know, back in the olden days, when I was an E6 in 1986, we used to train differently. It's one thing to go out and do a live fire where you pump everybody up, blow smoke up their ass, and tell them that they did great even if they didn't. And you act like, you know, just being out there and not shooting one of your friends is good. And then going out and doing a live fire where one of your buddies has a moulage kit with blood pumping out of it, so that you see that before you see it, and it's a life-threatening
For the first time,
actual
yeah.
injury. If you're stressing people out by sending them to ranger school or depriving them of sleep and food and all that stuff, so they can get a little bit of a head start on it. Combat is a marathon. If you go to combat and you've never trained for that marathon, it's just like, you know, going up to Boston to do 26.2 miles and you've never even run 100 meters. By the end of 26.2 miles, you're going to be like the first guy that ran a marathon on just a whim. You're going to die because you're not prepared for it. We don't prepare. We have to take for granted, or we have to understand that the generation, especially now, but even our generation, you know, we're not in the Great Depression where, you know, we go to World War I, World War II, and, you know, it's bad, but we've been dealing with bad our whole lives. So it's, you know, it's very,
from the industrial age and the Depression to fighting a war, you know, and again, the suicide rates of World War II veterans was extremely high as well, you know, and it was like, but
right.
Yeah.
They had nothing on either
No one
side.
even talked about back then. It was like shell shock or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever the other name. Like it wasn't a thing. Like it just
no,
wasn't.
and
It
Then
was-
again, they also had there's a much different World War II was a much different war than the war on terror. And if you're comparing and contrasting, there's a big difference between a war where other people have airplanes and a war where you're the only people that have airplanes. I'm not saying our war wasn't that big a deal, but our war wasn't that big a deal when you look at the fact that out of 20
spot on.
years,
Yeah.
out of 20 years, we made it barely to 10,000 people getting killed. When, you know, that was a
weekend.
We had a bad month. 10,000 people are gone in World War
I
II.
think I want to jump in because you made a profound statement, and you're 100,000,000%. Dr. Koenig and Dr. Vanderweel from Duke University and Harvard established some revolutionary research that showed, and it was it showed that resiliency, individuals that actually went through resilient training, particularly psychological and spiritual as a collective, not just physical training, but all of it working as a collective. They showed that those individuals were able to deal with trauma, process it a lot more efficiently, and continually doing resiliency training or going through resiliency therapeutics, you know, with the therapy. And then they're being able to kind of transition as kind of productive members of society was a higher rate, stronger correlation than those that then never got resiliency training. So you're 100% right?
Yep.
So my business that I'm in, unfortunately, is the aftermath. right? Because I don't feel like the military actually puts the level of attention or money in making sure that our warriors are going to be resilient to deal with trauma. And if they do, it's only more for the physical trauma, domain.
let's be,
not really
if we're gonna
check the
have
box.
this
It's a-
discussion, let's
We
let's
are getting
be honest
better, but
about
it's
it.
a check the box.
No,
Military.
I'm working on this right now. I go to
Yeah.
DC probably every 2 months, and the NDAA right now, right? Units are not even allowed to spend money on suicide prevention training. They're not even allowed to. All right, they're allowed to spend money on hiring people and research. So that's getting changed. We got everybody on board. Like,
But that all goes down. Like I said, if we're going to have this discussion, let's be honest about it. The military,
get left of the issue.
The military puts their money where they can best message to people that they are doing something. That something doesn't have to be effective. They just have to say they're doing something. Well,
Like I
we're
said, check
just
the
like
box,
the Sharp budget. We threw more money
Yep.
at Sharp than ever, and we're taking all that money and sending it to Ukraine. Like, you can't hire 16,000 Sharp professionals.
Yeah,
all right, so all that money is going to Ukraine.
We're spending money on.
We're getting off topic. Squirrel,
so we can make posters. The same as we're spending money on resiliency training to make posters to hang in our battalions and our brigades that say,
hug sessions.
Hey,
They're gonna fix everything, bro.
Okay. Yeah,
So
you think that anybody has ever felt like, and most people that we've seen that kill themselves feel like nobody's going to miss them if they're gone. You think when they're walking by battalion at some point and they see some douche, I feel better about myself because I learned about resiliency training. And they're like, wait a second, maybe I should look at resilience. Like nobody's using
everyone, I'll tell you, I'm heavily involved in the political space, specifically just to change policy and to advocate for the 20 million veterans to the White House, the Department of Defense, and the Veterans Affairs. I'm the chairman of the Veteran Service Alliance, which does that. I received that appointment from President Trump at the time, and I've maintained it through this Biden administration, and now Trump is back on deck. And I'm also a board of director under Governor DeSantis for the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, their foundation for District 4. And the reason why I share all those for all the people out there, our organization, SOF Missions, people are always asking, well, how is it that we combat the suicide epidemic? How can we actually get ahead of it? How can we end it? And I'm going to tell you how we do it. Instead of constantly treating the symptoms, we actually need to start treating the actual core problem. And that's why our program, what we do, and this is for all the warriors out there that need help. And remember, it is okay to not be okay. What's not okay is for you not to get the help that you need. What we do is we bring warriors in from all 50 states, predominantly in Florida. I don't know where you guys are, but Florida is the greatest state in America. I know if you're from Texas, I'm sorry, okay? But you guys used to own it.
AZ.
And if you're in California, well, you know what? You're confused. Okay. That's
well, California's a flex.
All right,
I did
Nick just moved to California to flex.
I moved from the greatest country. I moved from the greatest country in the world, which is Texas. Right.
I knew it was you, Big Earl. I knew it was you.
You have a state. I'll give Florida the best state. I'll give Florida the best state in the United States. Texas is the best country in the world.
Okay.
And then,
you know what? All right. Then we'll just agree on that. Okay. So Florida, Governor DeSantis has made it the most friendly, most veteran-friendly state. And I'm going to tell you, for us, we fly warriors in, we bring them in, and we have about 20 to 30 healthcare practitioners. Just imagine, get ready for your mind to get blown, that the Department of Defense would actually do this for our warriors. We bring a warrior in, and then basically within a 5-day period, Mayo Clinic model from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, right? We've got all sorts of healthcare practitioners from, orthopedics, physical therapists, psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists of all different specialties. We've got acupuncturists, massage therapists, chiropractors. We've got strength conditioning, nutritionists, all that. And what we do, and even for many of them, do integrated medicine. And we take care of everything from A to Z. I had no idea that I was having such horrific, such problems healing because I had lead poisoning, plastic toxicity, mold. I mean, the places that we live overseas, think about all the lead going into your body. I had to flush all that crap out. Right. And then not just level out my serotonin, dopamines, and cortisol levels, and not to mention my testosterone levels that were low. There's ways that you can actually naturally produce testosterone and human growth hormone, all legally. Okay. It takes a little bit of money, but all this, you could do it and you could take care of a troop. So what we do is we take in a warrior 5 days and think about it like this. Humans are like houses. We go in, we check each room, the psych room, the social room, the spiritual room, the physical room, the cognitive room, and then we figure out what's wrong. And then we start providing the care that they need. And then we give them a follow-on care plan for 1 complete year. And it's all for free.
Wow.
The warriors don't have to pay.
Hey,
for
how do
anything.
people
They travel
find
their
this,
own
and how do they
everything.
donate to it, and how do they all that kind of stuff? How do they find it? How do they
Yeah,
find it?
just
How
go
do they
to-
donate to it?
Yeah, just go to sofmissions.org, sofmissions.org, and you can check it out. See if you need care,
Is it-
man. Just go ahead and apply.
Is there a
SOF.
waiting list?
There is, and that's one of the things. Where
What
I'm
does that
telling
look like
people-
for anybody that's watching now, or for anybody that's going to listen later and they're like, "This sounds awesome," because it's like total care, right? So like phenomenal. But anybody that's watching now, or like I said, listens later, what's the waiting list look like if they sign up for it?
So
Well,
our
maybe if
next-
we get a donator, it won't be much of one.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
bring to my
Yeah.
donors. That's what I bring to Governor DeSantis. That's what I bring to all my senators and representatives that are passionate about veterans. I go, hey, listen, I've got all these clinics. They're maxed out. We need more money. And normally they do. Now we're going through a season, right? We have one more clinic. It's completing in about 2 weeks, and then I rest my horses. All my practitioners. It's hard work to take care of these warriors for 1 complete year, each and every one of them. We've had about 3,000 warriors that we've taken care of, and 3,000 which I would call inpatient, where we fly them in to a resort.
Yeah.
By the way, for all you warriors out there, our hospital is a resort. Okay, like it's awesome. King size bed, amazing food, right? Nobody waking you up at 02 just because they want to, right? And
You're on fire guard.
We're really healing a serene environment. But the next one will be in January, and there's a clinic every month. And just think about it. It's a 1 week every month. It takes a lot of time, money, and energy. If there's a donor out there, help me out. 100% of the money that comes in goes straight into the veteran. We've got one donor that pays for all the administrative costs. We're at 95% operations and 5% administration. So we're here to help. I'm passionate about it. I was there. I understand the struggle. And if any of you guys ever want to come to check it out, it would be great, because then you could actually be advocates because you went through it. This would be really important. So please consider that. And it is the model.
Nick, we'll make a
in order to
trip out to
stop
Florida.
suicide.
Yeah, of course. And we got Len out there
Yeah.
too. She definitely would probably
Yeah.
actually really like it. We didn't do a really good job of promoting your clinic. So we'll
It's
have to have
okay,
you back
man.
on. We'll have to have you back on to do it again for sure. We don't have to close it up right now either. What I was going to say is there's over 77,000 veteran nonprofits, and what we try to do here with Veteran Trash Talk is give every single one of them a voice. Hey, meet the guy who started it. Meet the guy who runs it. Guy or girl, doesn't matter, right? And then judge for yourself. And we do have our only claim to fame, not our only, but just we say is we had one person on the show from Texas, no big deal.
From the greatest
One of
country
the
in
people,
world.
one of the people watching the show, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I don't really claim Texas, but one of the people watching the show really enjoyed the fact that after the hunting trip, they got to keep all of the gear. And that person then called the person on the show, and said, he wanted to be anonymous. So he calls the show and says, how much does it cost for you to send a group out? And he gave him the answer. He goes, here's your next 2 years. Right. And he gave him $70,000.
That's great.
And it was like, so not saying you're going to get that, but whenever you have something coming up, and we'll talk later, because there's with the DC thing, there's people that I can connect you with as well that are doing a lot of great work. You probably are in their circle already. We'll get that connected. But anything that you're doing, send us the flyer, send us the whatever you're doing to raise money, send that to us, and then we'll put it on all of our platforms. So
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. I think I know we got to close up and everything, but I just want to say that it's so important that our veterans understand that how unique they are. I know we sit there and I mean it's a culture, it's a bond. A lot of them are still trying to figure out what's going on. And at the end of the day, there's so much happening in the world, and we need our veterans today more than ever. And my book, we were kind of joking around about leadership. My book is about being an unstoppable force for good. What does it take in order to gather a team? This is all the pragmatic components of it, so that you can go off and you can fight homelessness, that you can fight sex trafficking, you can fight the abusive behavior of individuals in domestic violence, that you can help little kids, get school supplies on day one with a backpack, that you could, there's so much pain and agony happening in the world. And I believe that the U.S. veteran is a solution, and they can make an atomic impact because of the skills that they gain. And it all began because they were part of the 1% in America that raised their right hand and said, here I am, send me. And so, you know what? The military was a mission, but that mission is over, and it's time to find a new mission. The world is filled with a lot of pain and agony. There's many that are lost and broken, and they need the American veteran to come out and start saving more lives. So all you listeners out there, all you viewers out there, just remember, the God of the universe is not done with you yet. When he created you, when he crafted you, when he shaped you, he made you into a warrior of warriors, and we need you. And I would be honored to be able to help you not only figure out your purpose, but help you with your new mission in life. I'm grateful for all of you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. You guys are a bunch of characters, but I know that you guys care very much about making the world a better place, one podcast at a time, one trash talk at a time. So I appreciate it, and I look forward and keep going and keep talking with you guys. And I'll be more than happy to come on back, man. So
I don't want to do the AAR anymore. I don't. I feel like I'm not.
Is it your job to do the AAR? I forget who wrote
It's my job to do the AAR.
You're
but
good, buddy. Yeah, I think.
I feel like the doctor just did an AAR.
He did,
and like a closing statement.
But where did you go to school?
I would agree with Buddy on that.
I got my bachelor's degree at Lewis University, the great school. They gave me an opportunity. I've got to look at the wall, my TBIs. I got my master's at the University of Oklahoma. I got my doctorate over in California, and then I got my further education at Harvard, and I got lucky to get that. So
I went to the Yale, the Southwest, UTEP.
I also went to Harvard as well. Not a huge deal.
Harvard, the Southeast.
Harvard in the Southeast. It's called Austin P State University. Yeah. It's not a huge deal. I mean, I don't want to brag at all. They say
one of our first guests like 3 years ago was getting his MBA from Yale, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting my master's too from the Yale of the Southwest. It's UTEP." So, pretty much brothers.
I will tell you, I've been super blessed. It's another reason why I'm a patriot. This is the greatest country in the whole world. All these opportunities I've received. I'm a no name, some kid with nothing, no money, no legacy, no nothing. And I came out from the darkest places, and I was able to make something out of myself. But I believe God has a plan for everyone. And I believe that we're called to be an unstoppable force for good. So I'm just a product of this great nation, and dreams do come true. And I'm just honored to be part of this fight against the suicide epidemic among our veteran community. So keep rocking and rolling. That intro, I think it was Faceman that did it. Man, that was.
He's the soft one of the group.
Yeah, well, man, like that resonated with me. I was like, that's very cool.
Look at that face.
Did that. Because people need to know that it's okay not to be okay, and the sooner we can just address the issues, and you go to people who actually give that they care, then we can go ahead. We can put you back together, make you the Spartan that you were once. It hasn't died, man. Your soul is still there. The chassis may not be as tight, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we can change that, man. We can change.
Well, Dave gets paid to look good, so he has to stay in shape. Buddy and I, we let it go a little bit. Yeah. But before Buddy gives the AAR, I do want to do two shout outs to. No, you're going to do one. You have to talk about a couple things. Otherwise,
good, buddy. I got you covered.
He closes out. I just talked about what the show was.
But with the people first, mission first, people always, that thing. We do have phrases for veteran trash talk that you kind of hit on, where it's okay to not be okay, but then again, you have to go get the help.
That's right.
And so what we say is let the demon out. All right, you have to own your own demon.
Yeah,
it's yours.
Yeah.
All right.
Put that shirt up.
It's not mine. It's not mine. It's yours. But if you bring it out, then we can all help. But you have to bring it out. You have to get the demon out. And that's our main saying on one of our shirts. No big serious plug there, but like get the demon out. Right? And then let us crush it together.
Yeah.
So
I love that. That's good. Whenever the warriors come to our clinic on intro day, I tell them one of the core values is courage. And I said, it's phase one. the courage to look at yourself and say, I have a problem. And then you go, you know what? I got a problem. I got some serious demons that I'm dealing with, right? Like, but the first stage is saying, I'm looking at myself. I got a problem, man. And this thing is slowly eating and killing me, right? Stage 2, you actually tell a friend, hey man, I need help. I'm struggling with these demons and I don't know what to do. The most important part is stage 3, phase 3, go get the help. Because if you don't get the help, then it doesn't matter. Too many warriors get stuck with phase 2s. Like, you're talking to people. Okay, I admit that I got a problem. And number 2, I'm talking to other people and I'm drinking myself every night to sleep with a bottle of bourbon. Hey man, now why don't you man up? Because you got kids, you got family that care about you. You got your brothers in arms that care about you. Man up, go get the help, man. And it takes tremendous amount of courage. And like you said, get that demon out. I love that.
Phenomenal stuff. Hey, we look forward. Nick will probably schedule you again to come on, because I think there's so much more that we could cover, and we can go into detail so much more on like some of the tools we put in our kit bags on how to deal with the mental health crisis and all that stuff. So again, we really appreciate you. We love what you're doing for the community, for the entire veteran community. And for anybody that tuned in late, go check out VeteranTrashTalk.com. That is our website, which has links to shop.veterantrashtalk.com, where you can buy some awesome shirts. Today I'm wearing just the tip. We are out of hats right now, Nick, so we need more of those. So
We're out of hats, mother.
And go to YouTube, because we are shadow banned on YouTube. We get a lot more views and people listening on Spotify and on Facebook, but YouTube doesn't like to push us through the algorithm. So give us a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Faceman VTT out.